Hey y'all, it's me, AlanaRaihnTV, and I'm back with another video. Alright guys, so this is going to be part 4 of how I went to prison out the country. First time ever in my life. So guys, before I start the story time, I do want to reply back to some of the comments. So there are a few things I want to touch on that I did not mention in the prior story times. Okay, so for number 1, I want to mention that the friend that I ended up going down with in 4, I didn't see her at all again. For this whole 4-month experience, I didn't see her at all. She got shipped out somewhere else. That's one thing. Also guys, I want to mention that the UK prisons are nothing like US prisons, guys. So I do want to say I am very grateful that for my first experience in prison, it was in the UK, because I feel like their prisons are more for reform. US prisons are more, I feel like, to scare people off from doing crimes so you don't go to prison. But UK prisons are more to reform people and give them a start back into society. So thankfully that was my first experience, because UK prisons are so plush compared to compared to US prisons. And like I said, guys, it might seem throughout the story time that I was over there having fun, but I had to make the best out of my experience. I do want to say that being away from my dog, my dad, my friends, not having my phone, being able to call who I wanted to, not knowing the status, or not for sure knowing the status of my apartment, my car, when I got home. I didn't know the for sure status of those things. Thankfully, guys, I did have friends that were there for me and supporting me while I was away, and they made sure everything stayed afloat. But anxiety was always still there. So I feel like that really was the hard part about being there. The hardest part about being there was being away from my dog, my loved ones, my friends, my family, and not knowing the unknown. So let me just preference to say, guys, prison is still prison. You know, it's still hard. We have our hard days, but for me to have been locked up, I feel like the UK was the best place I could have been locked up at, because yes, they did have a lot of programs. And it's not just me that says this. A lot of my girls that I were in prison with, who I met along the way, they also said the same thing now, to a sense of they kind of missed the experience, and they're grateful that I'm doing these story times, because it gives them a chance to relive the experience without having to actually go back. Because it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. Like, we miss the experience, but we don't want to go back. So I do just want to let you guys know that before I dive deeper into the story. So let's get started now with part 4 of my prison experience. I'm gonna start with this. So do you remember when I told you that I finally got enrolled into classes? One of the classes was called Jailbirds, where they had me do like arts and crafts and sewing. And the other class that I was in was IT. Let's take it back a little bit to IT class. Okay, so when I would go to our IT class, there would be bars. After we leave our wing, we walk through the outside area, then we go to the class building. So when we got to the class building, we would have to scan our IDs or our movement slip at the gates or whatever. The guards would let us into the classroom building, and then we would walk to our class. So going to IT class for so long, I ended up meeting this girl in my IT class. She was so cute, guys, super cute. She had like this cute little Coke bottle shaped little light-skinned girl. She was really fun. Like, she had like gauges in her ears, curly hair, had the Naruto pajamas in class. That's how I would describe her. So anyways, we were both in the IT class with Miss Brenda. Miss Brenda was our teacher. Miss Brenda was, I believe she was from Nigeria, and she had a really thick accent. She was super sweet though, but every time we come in class, she'd be like, you guys stop talking, you guys this. She was very on point about our performance in class, even though it was basic computer knowledge. So I bring this up though to say that I met this girl in my IT class, the one who I was describing. Her name was Naisha. Now, Naisha, cool girl. She was beautiful, cool girl, right? So every time I would come, every day I would go into IT class. Me and her would sit by each other. We'd chop it up. We, once Miss Brenda got tired of us talking so much in class, we pass notes to each other, even though we were sitting right next to each other. I had this binder and we would just write back and forth to each other. We really bullshitted our whole way through IT class, but it was what it was. So fast forward, because Naisha is not really a big part of the story. Fast forward, when I left IT class to go to Jailbird's class, like left IT class entirely because I wasn't able to have both of the classes because it would keep me out my cell too long. So I could have one or the other. So of course I'm going to choose to do arts and crafts and sew. So when I left IT class, me and Naisha had like such a good bond. And unfortunately, when I left IT class, she ended up not going to class anymore. She ended up staying in her cell and kind of going downhill a little bit because I feel like, well, I don't feel like, but she expressed to other prisoners there, Sativa being one of them specifically, because Sativa and Naisha, they were in the same wing. And remember, Sativa was the girl that I had met who had a roommate, Regina, from Canada. And Sativa expressed to me that Naisha was really sad about me not being in the class anymore, and she just didn't want to go to class anymore, which I felt bad because, girl, like, I wasn't in there before. You gotta do your time. Don't let it do you. But anyways, that's why I bring up Naisha in the class. She was a cool girl. So there was this other girl in IT class that I want to tell you guys why she was there because it blew my mind. So there was this, I really wish I remember her name. It was so close to Lala. It was like la. Let's call this girl Nina. Let's call her Nina. I'm so mad I don't remember her name, but let's call her Nina. So in IT class, there was a girl that sat in front of me and Naisha named Nina. Nina was a traditional Indian, Hindu, Muslim. I'm sorry, I don't want to misappropriate, but she seems as though she was like from Muslim culture, maybe Arabian culture. That's what she seemed like, right? So she ended up telling us like she was only 21 years old and she was just very upbeat. So I was curious to know, why is she here? Come to find out, after talking to her in IT class, she was there because can I say this on YouTube? I don't think I can say this on YouTube. There's kids and then there's naps. So yeah, so that's what she did to her husband. She napped her husband and took him somewhere and hurt him. He was okay, but that's the story of why she ended up there. And I was just so like, you did that? You? Like, she was like an innocent little Muslim looking girl. She had high energy, but you just wouldn't assume that would come from her. Like, and that's how it was for a lot of people's stories. I couldn't believe that they were actually there for what they did, but neither here nor there. After she told us that, I just looked at her like, dang, you a little thug, like, you crazy, girl. Of course I asked her, how long were you guys married? So she was only 21. She said that she had been with her fiance, husband. She had been with him for 6 years prior to them getting married. And so they ended up getting married, and she was only married to him for a month. Only married for a month. Together in a relationship for 6 years. And they were only married for 1 month before she decided to adult nap him. And like, she's like, he just changed. Like, he just changed and he just flipped on me. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. So a little bit more about her, and then I'll end this whole IT class segment because it wasn't a big part of my experience. So that was Nina. Nina would always come to class late. So Miss Brenda was always like, Nina, why are you always coming to class late? You know, so it made me know, let me come to class on time because Miss Brenda cares about our attendance. So that was just that with Nina. So the last thing that I want to mention about the IT class, because like I said, I was only in the IT class for like 3 weeks before I went to the Jailbird's class. Miss Brenda was super cool and she was super sweet. And there's this thing in the prison called positive IEPs. So if you were to receive a positive IEP from an officer, a teacher, or a guard, it looks good for your court case. So mind you, I haven't had my court case yet. So I was trying to get IEPs, positive IEPs, but apparently it was really hard to get positive IEPs because like you would have to do things like go out of your way to do favors for the guards or go out of your way to do certain things and you would get a positive IEP. So my teacher, Miss Brenda, since I was on time to class every day, she offered to give me a positive IEP. So before I left IT class, I was definitely pressing Miss Brenda about my positive IEP because if you get 3 positive IEPs, you will become an enhanced prisoner. And what that means is you have access to more money to spend on your account. And also you have access to DVD players and some other things. And maybe I think it was being out of your cell longer. So they did have incentives for you to do positive things while you were there. I did receive 2 positive IEPs while I was there for the 2 months before I did move to the other prison. You can also receive negative IEPs, and that was just basically for like, you know, just doing certain stupid stuff, you would receive negative IEPs. And if you received enough negative IEPs, they would put you in SEG. And what SEG is abbreviation for segregation. They would segregate you from general population. They would put you in a cell all day, every day. You didn't get any free time or nothing like that. You didn't get any outside time or nothing. So, definitely didn't want to get no negative IEPs. So let me tell you guys about the 2 times that I did get positive IEPs because I'm actually very proud of those moments. By the way, Miss Brenda giving me a positive IEP, that was obviously like I kind of was like pushing for her to get that. But the next positive IEP that I got, I was not even looking for a positive IEP. I was just being a good person, like the good person that I am. I extended myself to do something which I'm about to explain to you guys, and I ended up getting a positive IEP for it, which made me very happy, but I was not doing it though for a positive IEP. So let me get into that. Okay guys, so let me take it back to our wing. 1C wing where me and Kayla are roommates. Yes. So there was this girl in our wing. We'll call her Courtney. So there was this white girl named Courtney, super small, frail looking girl. She had the Ellen DeGeneres haircut. And the only conversation and encounter that I had ever had with this girl, it was because she had like this jade colored Van Cleef bracelet, or was it a necklace? It was a necklace, I'm sorry guys. So she had this jade colored Van Cleef necklace on. And I was just letting her know, like I was like, oh, I really like your necklace. Like that's really cool, like Van Cleef, whatever. She was just like, oh, I didn't know somebody gave it to her. She's like, oh, maybe my mom gave it to me or whatever. And I was like, oh, it's very nice. Yeah, I like your necklace, you know, whatever. So then I was just talking with her, you know, normal conversation, just chatting, talking with her, whatever. So let's fast forward, I'd say 3 weeks later, 3 weeks over time. Within those 3 weeks, she was not everybody's favorite, but that had nothing to do with me, right? So this girl, I guess, had a strong opinion about certain things, and a lot of people did not agree with this girl. So I'll give you an example. So I'm in the cell one morning brushing my teeth. The sink is right by our exit door from the cell. So I'm brushing my teeth with the cell door open. So remember how I said we're upstairs and how there's like a common chairs and tables and a mirror right by our room door. So people are often by our front door. Yeah. So there just happened to be this one day that Courtney was walking by our room door as I'm brushing my teeth. So I'm brushing my teeth, you know, minding my business. And then Courtney walks by, and she walks all the way by the room door, and then she backpedals, looks in my room, looks at me, just like, oh, hi. She was just like, why are you brushing your teeth? Because I just woke up, and that's what I do when I wake up. I brush my teeth. She's like, yeah, but you're just doing that because that's what people conditioned you to do. Because like, what will really happen if you didn't brush your teeth? And I said, my teeth would probably fall out. And she was like, but how do you know that? How do you know that for sure? You're only going based off of what people tell you. You don't know that your teeth will really fall out if you didn't brush your teeth. You're just being a follower. You're just following what everybody else does. I said, ma'am, I'm almost positive that my teeth will fall out if I didn't brush my teeth. Like, and I don't want stinky breath. She was like, your breath wouldn't stink if you didn't brush your teeth. You just smell like yourself. You would just smell like you. It wouldn't stink. It would just smell like you. And I'm just like, girl, I am not about to argue with you about me brushing my teeth. If you don't want to brush your teeth, that is completely fine, and that is your business. But what I'm not about to do is argue with you about brushing my teeth. Like, what the fuck? Needless to say, that was the end of that conversation, and she just walked away with a little attitude. But I'm just like, did I just get into it with somebody about me brushing my teeth? Like, girl. And so a couple days later, she comes up to me and was like, hey, I brushed my teeth today. And I was like, congratulations. Like, what the freak? Like, in order for me to give you guys this example of the type of girl this girl was, I have to tell you what I did for my positive IEP. Because after I did what I did for my positive IEP, is kind of the example that I'm trying to give you, right? Okay. So this girl, she was going through a lot of things mentally. She was not handling prison well at all, to say the least. We were all dealing with it in our own different types of ways, but this girl in particular was not doing good. So, what did I just name her? Courtney was not doing good. So, there was this particular day that Courtney decided to go in her room and not come out for weeks. She decided to go on a food strike, a poop and pee strike, and she was not coming out of her room. And now, what is a poop and pee strike? It's when you don't go to the bathroom to poop or pee, you just do it in your bed. And this was so sad because this girl was so young, and she, had a lot to say when she did talk. So I think she just got to the point in her prison experience where she gave up. She did not get out of bed for 2 whole weeks, guys. She was just in her bed rotting in her own feces. Some of the guards would go in there to take her food, but she was not eating. So on her desk in her room, she had a single room at this time. Some people had roommates, some people had single rooms. So her desk would just pile up with food over the days. Her room smelled as you can expect it to smell for someone defecating and urinating on themselves for weeks, right? Dirty clothes, not showering. She did not shower or anything, right? So within these amount of weeks, there has been people in her doorway trying to talk to her, guards trying to talk to her, trying to get her up, trying to get her to shower, trying to get her to do all these different things. And to no avail, to say the least, she was still in there. So something happened that sparked something in me that rubbed me the wrong way, that made me step up and help this girl out. So her room happened to be right across from the lunch serving line, right? Buffet style. If you walk into Panda Express, you got the buffet. That's what our lunch line looked like. So her room was right across from that. Every wing had their own lunch area, lunch kitchen. So, we didn't have to leave our wing to get food. And we only were communicating with the people in our wing during lunch. So when we would line up for our lunch line, and either a guard would go into that Courtney's room to get her plate to bring her food, or they would be bringing her food and opening her door. So every time that they would open Courtney's door, it would be one or two different girls just being super dramatic, like, oh, it stinks, and oh, that girl's room smells, and oh, do you guys smell that? Like, that girl's room stinks. So they would do that a lot, right? So it got to a point where these girls were doing that, and I had to say something because it just was rubbing me the wrong way. So I stepped in to say, she's dealing with mental health clearly, and that's very insensitive of you to make fun out of somebody that's going through such a situation like that. You don't have to go by her room and be right in front of her room door and take a deep breath. You don't have to do that. And if anything, if you have an issue with this so much, maybe you should go in there and help her out instead of making fun of and trying to talk about this girl. It wasn't funny. Like, it wasn't funny. So I want to say, if not that day, it was the next day, where there was a officer standing at her door trying to get her to shower, trying to get her to clean up her room, and I just happened to overhear the conversation. So I went over there, and I tried to say what I could say to her. I was like, hey, like, I know you're going through a hard time right now, and I know you're probably tired of people coming in here trying to get you to do stuff, but this is not the way to go, and XYZ. And as I'm talking to her, the officer must have felt moved more than what he was doing for her. So he did ask me if I was willing to go into the room and talk to her, see if I can get her to do something, right? And I agreed, I don't mind. I said, yeah, I'll go in here and talk to her. I said, I'll do you one even better. Do you have a mask and gloves? I'll clean up her room for her. Like, I'll clean her room up, because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a depressed state or just like not good state. The last thing you want to do is clean up a room, right?
I'm inserting the image here of the positive IEP I received. Pause to read.
So I took it upon myself to ask them for cleaning supplies, and I'll just clean her room for her. And he was flabbergasted. He was like, wait, what? He was like, that would be amazing. He was like, in fact, I'll go find another prisoner to help you out, and I'll give you guys a positive IEP for that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't even looking for a positive IEP, but I appreciate it. That'd be cool, whatever. So the prisoner that he got to help me, she'll come up again throughout this story time, so let me give her name. Her name is Ruby. And funny enough, she actually had a roommate named Ruby, so I just don't remember if this is the girl named Ruby or her roommate, but we're just gonna name her Ruby. She was a Portuguese girl, dark hair, light skin, named Ruby. So Ruby was a little snappy, she was a little rude, and she was a little vulgar. So I honestly wish that he would not have had Ruby to come help me, because she was just kind of saying stuff to the girl while we were cleaning. Girl, just get up. Like, girl, just like, they're gonna lock you back in. They're gonna lock you back in. And I'm just like, we didn't need that negative energy in what we were trying to do. So anyways, she was trying to throw all the girl stuff away, and I was just saying, like, no, like, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with that, what you're trying to throw away. I said, as a matter of fact, can you go get me a shoe cover? I don't know. I just told her to go get me anything, some trash bags. Just get out. You're not making it better. You're not making it easier. So I sent her on a wild goose chase, right? So I'm talking about, I took out all this girl's dirty clothes. I threw away all the food that was on the plates. I wiped down her table. I wiped down her floor. I wiped down her sink area. I put all of her dirty clothes in a bag. I folded all her clean clothes. I organized her whole entire room. I turned on some music for her on her TV. And she was moving a little bit, but she was in the same position the whole time. And so the last task for her room would have been changing her bed, but that would have meant getting her up out of bed, and she just was not going for it. So her whole room was clean, but she was not trying to get out of that bed. I was giving her the best advice I could give her, but she wasn't trying to get out the bed. So we left it at that. A couple of days later, she ends up coming out of her room groggy. She looks super groggy. The first thing I do when I see her come out of her room, me and Kayla, we went up to her and was like, hey girl, like, we're about to go to shower soon. You want to come with us to the showers? Like let's all just go shower. And we were able to get her to take a shower, and she felt so good afterwards. So she ended up coming up to me and Kayla and was just thanking us so much. We just, thank you so much for helping me. Sorry for not replying back to you when you were in the room the other day, talking to me. I heard you though, but I just wasn't in the mood. But thank you so much for everything that you did. And I was like, girl, it's easy. I would want somebody to do that for me if I was in that predicament. So I was just like, it's fine. So we went on throughout the day. And I want to say now it was dinner time, same day, dinner time. We see this girl sitting at the table by herself, just sitting by herself. And me and Kayla, and because I told you guys she was not any of the prisoners' favorite because she had very strong opinions about certain things. But me and Kayla took it upon ourselves to go sit and have lunch with Courtney, the one who was going through all this hard stuff, who I cleaned her room. Yeah, we took it upon ourselves to go sit there and have lunch with her. That quickly turned out to be a bad idea. And I'm going to tell you why. So we walk over to Courtney. We're just like, hey, Courtney girl, like, how you doing? She's just like, oh, like, you know, whatever. So Kayla, my roommate, had ended up scheduling an appointment to see the doctor, I believe, to fix her medication or whatever have you, right? So this lady that was a representative of the nurses and the doctors at the prison ended up coming into our wing to get Kayla in the midst of our conversation. So it's me, Kayla, and Courtney sitting at this table. And this lady, the nurse lady comes into our wing and is like, hey, Kayla, I see you booked an appointment with the doctor. We're gonna have you come up here first and take a pregnancy test. And Kayla's like, okay, cool. Like, you know, I've been waiting for this. Okay, cool. So Kayla gets up to go in the room to take a pregnancy test, or the cell, to take a pregnancy test. So this girl, Courtney, flips out. When I say flips out, she completely flips out. She's like, why is she making her do that? Kayla doesn't have to do that if she doesn't want to do that. Why is she making her do that? That's not right. You know what? I'm going to go get her because she doesn't have to do that. And I was like, no, don't go over there. Like, Kayla wants to do that. Don't worry about her. She wants to do that. Like, she wanted a doctor's appointment. She's like, no, but they're making her do all this stuff and she doesn't really want to do that. She's just saying yes because she thinks she has to. And I was like, no, Mama's like, I'm telling you, she wanted a doctor's appointment and that's what she has to do to get the doctor's appointment. Then, like, let them be. Like, she wouldn't do anything she doesn't want to do. So, she wasn't hearing me. So she storms upstairs into me and Kayla's room and is like coming for the lady that's trying to test her. She's like, that's not right what you're doing. Why are you making her do that? What if she doesn't want to take a pregnancy test? Women have rights and blah, 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 blah. So I was just like, oh, this is awkward. So the lady had to defend herself and was like, ma'am, I'm dealing with this prisoner. This has nothing to do with you. She's agreed to do this. And then Courtney was like, but you're forcing her to do it. You're not giving her a choice to do it. That's not right, blah, blah, blah. So needless to say, Kayla already took the test. So Kayla's work here was done. And so was the nurse's work here was done. But Courtney was not done. Courtney followed this lady, this poor lady. She followed her down the stairs to this place, to that room. She did not leave this lady's shoulder. She just kept letting her have it. It's not right what you were doing. You can't force us to do. Like, she was letting her have it. And then me and Kayla, we just picked up our food from the table. And then we went back into our room and just called it a day. Because we was like, yeah, that's insane. We'll just let her deal with that. That was wild. But we understand now. Well, partially understood why people kind of had an issue with Courtney. But only partially. So next, I'm going to tell you guys about the foreign national lady. We would have to like book appointments to go see the foreign national lady. She would give us information and put us in contact with our embassy, the U.S. embassy. So when we would go visit the foreign national lady, she would give us information from the embassy. We call the embassy, basically letting them know that we're here in the prison, so that they can do whatever they have to do on their part to make sure, like, you know, we don't want to get lost in the prison system in the UK being from the US. So we had to often talk to our foreign national lady who would help us with questions that we wanted to know about our passports and like that process and just how it would go about us getting home. So I ended up, I don't want to skip too much, but anyways, within the process of us going up to see the foreign national lady, I ended up meeting this girl named Bianca. And Bianca is also from Canada. I want to say Toronto. Cute brown skinned girl, chocolate girl with dreads. She's going to be a part of our clique later. But that was just one of the first times that I ended up meeting Bianca, was at the foreign national office. Yeah, so we would go in the office. She'd dial up the number for us to the embassy. We talked to the embassy about programs that they had to pay for our lawyers and just whatnot. So that was kind of like a little bit about That's just... Also, y'all, to tag in and to talk about how this prison was so reformative, right? And how it wasn't really like U.S. prisons. They had so many different things for us to get out of our cells. Aside from the classes and aside from church, me and Kayla signed up for everything that we could sign up for, guys. We even ended up in the LGBTQ focus group. So when we would go to this LGBT focus group, me and Kayla, we would go in there, and there were like couples that would signed up for this group that just wanted to be in there to be with each other. So a lot of times that we would go to this LGBT focus group, it'd be like couples in there holding hands under the table, rubbing on each other's thighs, just all that crazy freaky stuff. And there was another girl that I want to introduce because she's not a huge part of this story time. She kind of sort of is, but not really. I'll just introduce her real quick. So there was a red band prisoner, two of them. There were two red band prisoners. One, and red band prisoner, just to touch on, are prisoners who can literally leave their cell whenever they want, go into different wings whenever they want, into people's cells whenever they want. So, for example, if a red band prisoner wanted to come to my cell because we were friends, they were able to basically say like, hey, I have a meeting with Alana, and can I go up to her cell? I have a meeting with her. And she was able to get access to come into my cell, get me out of the cell, or come in my cell and just chop it up with me. And a lot of times that's what one of them would do. So one of the red band prisoners that was in this LGBT focus group, her name was Giselle. The other red band prisoner was actually a transgender female to male. His name was Malik. So I want to talk a little bit about Giselle. Giselle was a stud, Filipino stud girl. She would come into me and Kayla's cell often just to give us tea. So a lot of times I'd be in my room just chilling because I didn't have class. And then Kayla would be at class, and then all of a sudden I hear a knock on my door, my cell door, and then the flap would open, and it would be Giselle. And then I would see a prison guard let Giselle in. So, you know, oh, you have a meeting with da-da-da. I'm like, okay, cool. So then Giselle would come in. They'd close the door, but they wouldn't lock it back. So Giselle would come in. She'd be like, girl, so tell me why, you know, I had hit up my wife, and da-da-da. My wife said that, like, just gossip. So we'd be in there talking, gossiping, and it'd be cool. So that was that. So a lot of times we see Giselle in passing when we were going to our classes, going to church, or whatever. We see Giselle like, hey girl. So that was Giselle. So next to our LGBT focus group class, there was also another room that intrigued the crap out of me. It was like a room that had different color lighting. They had different color bubble lights and a lot of sensory things like slime and just like a lot of crazy things in that room. So come to find out, the room was called the Esme room. And the Esme room was for meditation and for just like to get some zen and like away from all the noise. So you have to sign up to be a part of the Esme room. So I ended up signing up. So my first experience in the Esme room, guys, it was really cool. Actually, I'll show you guys. So let me show you. So it kind of fell apart by now, but we were able to create different types of arts and crafts while we were in the Esme room. Look at the fish tank, look at the different color lightings, bean bags. It was just like a room to calm us down, I guess you could say. So this was my door sign for my cell door that I ended up making in Esme. So again, Esme had different types of arts and crafts to pass the time while you were in there trying to get some meditation time. So yeah, this was full of gems. Some of the gems fell off, but this was a room sign that I was able to make for my cell room door in Esme. Very cute, very cutesy. So let's move on, guys, to our next topic of this episode. This is juicy tea time for the story, guys. It's finally time to talk about Lala's roommate, Zizi, the one who was snacks for the baby. Yeah, she ended up getting into a fight with someone who, or almost, let me say, she almost ended up fighting this girl. She did end up fighting another girl, but I wasn't there for that fight. So I'll give you guys a quick little summary because I want to get into the juicy stuff that I was there to see. Long story short, ZZ ended up getting into a fight with this lady that we'll call Tanya. I don't know, that's still not a black name, but whatever. So ZZ ended up getting in a fight with this girl named Tanya. That was before I came. It was in the cell. Ended up ripping Lala's necklace. That was crazy. They ended up having more beef down the line, but that's a story for another time. So let's talk about how ZZ ended up fighting this, or almost fighting this girl who she did her hair, right? And I seen this coming from a mile away. So ZZ had like a little hair business while she was in there. You're not really allowed to get items for services, but she did it anyways. She even made a picture sign to go outside of her cell door that said that she does hair. Come to her, book an appointment, like book with me for your hairstyles, for 2 oils and some 2 vape oils and some snacks in exchange for her hair services. So there was this Ethiopian girl that ended up moving into our wing, and this is the girl whose hair she did. So me and Kayla had a nickname for this Ethiopian girl that moved into our cell, and I'll explain it. So we ended up calling this girl Diddy Combs, and I will be calling this girl Diddy Combs for this portion of the story. So the reason why me and Kayla ended up calling this girl Diddy Combs, we had a lot of different nicknames for a lot of people in prison, but we called her Diddy Combs because while ZZ was about to start doing Diddy Combs' hair, we'll just call her Combs for short. While ZZ was about to do Combs' hair, Combs had came up to my room and was like, hey girl, do you have a parting comb that I could use for ZZ to do my hair? And I did. I didn't know this girl. She came into our wing maybe like a couple of days ago. So I seen her. She maybe said a couple of words to me, but I think she seen that ZZ and Lala were talking to me. So she felt comfortable to talk to me. I don't know. But she ended up coming up to me and asking me if I had a parting comb so ZZ could do her hair. And I was like, yeah, actually I do. So this comb in particular was a comb that I had just got off of Canteen Commissary. So it was brand new. I hadn't even used it yet. So I let her use it, right? So as ZZ is doing Combs' hair, I was asking ZZ, like, what is Combs about to give you in return for you doing her hair? And she was like, oh, 2 oils and some snacks. I was like, oh, did she give it to you already? She's like, no, Canteen is coming up this Sunday. So let's say it's Thursday that she's doing her hair. She was like, Canteen is coming up this Sunday and she's going to pay me out of her Canteen. And I was like, okay, you know, like, who am I to talk about how you do business? Whatever. Like, you know, you're going to get yours, you're going to get yours. That's cool. So that was just that. This is how she got her nickname, Diddy Combs. So she gets done with the hairstyle. The hairstyle looks all good, whatever. So she goes to return me back my comb. When I tell you, this comb looked like it had been used in a hair salon for like maybe 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. It had gunk all in it. Like it had that Pro Style brown gel stuck in it. It had hair stuck in it. It had flakes stuck in it. All types of stuff. So she gave me back my comb and I'm just like, oh, thank you. And then she walks away out my room. I look at the comb and I'm disgusted. I'm like, bro, what is this? So then I take myself back down to Miss Diddy Combs and I say, hey, can you clean out this comb? Like before you give it back to me, like clean out this comb for me. Like so it can look how it did when I first gave it to you. She's like, oh yeah. So then she comes into my room and rinses it out in the sink. Rinses it out and then tries to give it back to me again. And I was like, yeah, there's still like a lot of stuff in here. Can you actually like go take it and clean it out properly and give it back to me like how I gave it to you? And she's like, oh, okay. So then she was like, yeah, it's just hard to get it out. It's just whatever. So then she did her best that she could do cleaning out the comb. It still wasn't the best, but then she ended up giving it back to me. So from that point on, me and Kayla ended up calling her Diddy Combs because of the comb, right? So you get me? Okay, cool. So now, let's fast forward to a couple of days later, Canteen Day. So we're all lining up to get our canteen, you know, whatever. Everybody gets their canteen, we cool. All of a sudden, you start to hear argument ensue between ZZ and Diddy Combs. Now, you just hear yelling and yelling and yelling, and you don't know what's going on. So now me and Kayla come out of our cell after getting our commissary put in our room. We hear the yelling, so we come out of our cell. And so we see Zizi is in her room across from us crashing out. So we go over there. We like, what's going on? Like, what's the issue? What's going on? She's like, Diddy Combs is not trying to pay me for the hairstyle. And she, this bitch got me fucked up. This bitch got me fucked up. She don't even know. Da, 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 da. She not trying to pay me. You not trying to pay me? Oh, da, 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 da. Like, she was going off, right? So Diddy Combs is just downstairs looking at her just like la 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 la. She's like, I don't owe you anything. But Diddy Combs is like, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you nothing. She's like, so they're arguing back and forth. And Zizi was like, don't worry about it. She wrapping her hair up. She's like, I got something for you, bitch. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna fuck you up. And we were just watching like a show. We were like, oh shit. So basically, Zizi came downstairs about to fight Diddy Combs. And then here comes the officers, of course. And the officers come, and this was around dinner time because we're in the lunch line now. So we're lined up for lunch. And here comes Zizi downstairs trying to fight with Diddy Combs, arguing. And so Diddy Combs opens her mouth to say to the officer, she threatened me and she da 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 da. First thing that I said, no, she didn't. So as soon as I said, no, she didn't, everybody in the line started jumping on bandwagon. They was like, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. Diddy Combs started it. Diddy Combs started it. No, she didn't. No. Zizi didn't do anything. So they ended up locking Diddy Combs in her room. So Diddy Combs got locked up. So Zizi ended up going to Diddy Combs' room because as Zizi was trying to go back to her room, Diddy Combs was yelling through the door like, bitch, nobody's scared of you, da da da, blah blah blah, talking all that stuff behind that locked door. So Zizi went in front of the door, was like kind of banging on her door like, I'll fuck you up, da 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 da. And then that was just kind of that because Diddy Combs was locked in her room, couldn't get her out. So I do have one more story about Diddy Combs before I move on. So let's fast forward a couple of days, right? So Diddy Combs had this fur leather jacket, right? So she had this fur leather jacket, black leather jacket with the fur on the collar. Super nice jacket if you ask me, right? You remember the girl that I named Ruby? Portuguese girl that I named Ruby. So Ruby really liked Diddy Combs' jacket. So Ruby had asked Diddy Combs like, hey, do you want to trade anything for your jacket? I really like your jacket. I would trade you XYZ for that jacket. Diddy Combs was kind of hesitant. So Ruby was like, I'm going to give you some time to think about it. You don't have to make your decision right now, but think about it. Like, I really like that jacket. And so Diddy Combs came back hours later and was like, you know what? Hey, yeah, I do actually want to trade with you. So I believe Ruby ended up trading a lip gloss, some perfume, some snacks, and like some hair products for Diddy Combs' jacket. So they trade. Boom. Diddy Combs gets all of her stuff from Ruby, and now Ruby has the jacket. So Ruby's wearing this jacket, you know, whatever. A couple of days go by, Ruby's wearing the jacket again, whatever, and that whatever have you, right? So I don't know how Diddy Combs was able to get into Ruby's room when Ruby was not there. I don't know how that happened, but let's just say Diddy Combs went up to Ruby's room and grabbed her jacket back that she ended up trading. She grabbed her jacket back, and then she left on the floor like some stuff that Ruby ended up trading to Diddy Combs. So Diddy Combs goes into Ruby's room, grabs her jacket, and she leaves on the floor whatever Ruby had gave her. Not everything that Ruby gave her, just some of the stuff I guess that she didn't want anymore. She left it on the floor and she left out with her jacket. So when Ruby comes back to her room and she sees what's on the floor and she sees that the jacket is no longer there, she's flipped out. She's like, what's going on? So she ends up confronting Diddy Combs, like, what's going on? Like, where's the jacket? And she's just like, what are you talking about? She's like, this is my jacket. This is my jacket. So you can kind of see what kind of person this is already, right? So she's like, they start getting into it because she's like, I paid you for the jacket. Like, what the fuck? Like, so they start arguing, and then here comes the guards. So the guards, I think Diddy Combs had the lip gloss. Boom. Diddy Combs had the lip gloss that Ruby had ended up trading her for the jacket. She had that in her hand and had it in her pocket of her jacket. So she's putting on the lip gloss as they're arguing, and she's like, oh, that's my lip gloss. Ruby's like, that's my lip gloss. And then Diddy Combs is like, no, it's not. This is mine. This is mine. So the officers come over. They trying to de-escalate the situation. Ruby's being pretty calm about it. Diddy Combs all hype. And she's like saying like, oh, this is my lip gloss that she has in her hand. And so the officers took the lip gloss and didn't give it back to either one of them. And that was just really that situation. Needless to say, Diddy Combs did not last much longer in that wing because she was barking up the wrong trees. She was getting into it with everybody. So then the day that she ended up being moved to another wing, everybody was cheering. Everybody was like, oh yeah, get your ass out of here. So that was it for Diddy Combs, guys. Diddy Combs made her exit stage left. So I do want to mention too, guys, that they were very, very strict on trading rules when it came to that prison. So much so that I remember a time that there was this one girl downstairs who had ended up getting conditioner from a prisoner that was in a different wing. So like I said, there's A, B, C, D wing in the ones. There's also A, B, C, D wings in the twos, in the threes, and in the fours. So if I was standing at the gate of my D wing, I could see A wing, B wing, and C wing. When you go for meds, you're released out of your wing, but you're still in the ones. So you could basically stand in front of the gate at any A, B, C, or D wing if you wanted to. So there was a girl from another wing that had came up to the gate of our wing, and she was asking one of the girls that was in my wing for her conditioner back. So I guess the girl borrowed her conditioner and was using it. So she basically poured a bunch of conditioner in a cup before she was going to give it back to the girl at the gate. So one of the officers saw the girl at the gate and was like, hey, you need to go from over here. You need to go from over here. She's like, oh, I'm just waiting to get my stuff back. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, like she's about to give me some conditioner or whatever. The guard did not like that. So what did the guard do? Instead of, she went as if she was about to grab the conditioner to give to the prisoner. She grabbed the conditioner and she walked straight past the prisoner. The prisoner's like, give me my stuff, give me my stuff. She's like, no, there's no trading. And she took the conditioner and she locked it up in the office. So neither one of them could have it. And it was really messed up because in my brain, I'm like, dang, the girl who was borrowing it, she was better off just keeping the conditioner because now neither one of them can have it. So yeah, very strict about trading, guys. You guys, I'm actually too hyped to tell you guys about this girl that I'm about to tell you about because y'all, this is a story. This is a juicy part, y'all. So there was this girl in me and Kayla's wing, or no, let me back up. There was this girl who later on we had ended up naming the Roach for great reasons. Trust me, we did not just call this girl the Roach being no mean girls or nothing. She earned her nickname. So for story purposes, we're just gonna start off calling her the Roach. Mind you, I will reiterate, we did not call her the Roach until down the line when she showed Roach-like behavior. So let me just introduce the Roach. So before me and Kayla were moved out of the induction wing when we had single cells, that's when we first met the Roach. So there was, let me set the scene. She looks like an older, but not really older. She looked like she maybe in her 30s, dark-skinned black girl. She had her hair wrapped up like, you know, like the head wraps, maybe just had her hair in a scarf, right? So a lot of times when we would be in line to get our food, we get our food, we eat our food, and a lot of times there were leftovers. So the lunch line did allow us to come back for seconds. So like, let's say we lined up, we got our food. By the way, on the pods, we would put in our menu for the whole week. So when we did get in the lunch line, there was no confusion. There was no, I want this, I want that. It was what's your prison number? We give them our prison number. They would see on the list what we chose the week prior for our whole lineup of food for the week. So they would see the day, they would see what we chose, and then that's what we would get on our plate. So after we got our food, if there were still leftovers, we were able to line back up. And if it got to us in the back of the line and there was still food left, great. But if it didn't, we were just asked out. So if there were like 10 people in a line lined up for seconds, and there was still food when you got down to number 8, and then number 9 got the last helping, if you were number 10, you were just asked out. So we'd line up for seconds. And so of course this roach, she lined up for seconds too, right? But the thing that got me is somehow she was able to go back and get thirds, like on some greedy stuff at that point. She was just being greedy. She was a real skinny girl too, a really skinny girl. And she would literally like go back for thirds and stuff like that. And thirds wasn't even a thing. She would just go back as if she didn't get seconds. So that was that. So we would be eating our food. Sometimes me and Kayla would eat in our room. Sometimes we would eat downstairs at the table with everybody else. So for the times that we did eat downstairs with everybody else, there would be times when maybe we didn't like something on our plate, or maybe like we got full off of our seconds and we're about to go scrape our plate into the trash. We'd go over to the trash can to start scraping our plate. The roach will pop out of nowhere and grab our plate. Like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? We'll grab our plate and then literally starts eating our plate with her fingers. Like, we'll eat our plate and she would freaking lick it. To the point where I had to get new dishes after that, because I don't even play those type of games. I ended up getting a new plate one time, and obviously, or maybe twice, but I just didn't let her do that again. But the first time it happened, I'm emptying out my food into the trash can. She come over there like, no. And like, okay, I get it. Like, you feel me? I could start asking people whether they want this or not, but it just, everybody seemed cool and content and was still eating their food. So I didn't feel the need to go ask somebody that was already eating food if they wanted my stuff. So I'm throwing the food away. She grabbed my plate like, no. And so she starts eating my plate with her hands, bro. She started licking my plate. I said, you know what? You keep that. Fuck. So that would happen a lot. She would always try to eat people's leftovers and like whatever. She was just being overly greedy, right? And she still was not called the roach at this point. That was just that, right? So fast forward a little bit, when we moved out of that wing, and now, you know, like I said, me and Kayla are roommates in 1C, and how we met Sativa and Regina, who are roommates in 1B. So one time we were outside walking and talking with Sativa, Regina, and Kayla. We just happened to kind of tell them about this experience that we had with this girl. And this is time past, right? So this is probably like 3 weeks of me and Kayla being roommates, our first month at the prison. So we're telling them about this girl, and they're like, you're talking about the roach? And we're like, huh? They were like, the roach, or the vulture. I think me and Kayla called her a vulture, and they called her a roach, and we just start calling her the roach. So Sativa was like, oh, you're talking about the roach? And we're like, huh? They're like, yes, girl, that girl would do the same thing in our wing. She's in our wing right now. She do the same thing, and blah, 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 blah. And we're just like, this is crazy. Like, not this is this girl's like routine. Like, she just be doing this. Like, it was crazy, right? Right. So fast forward. There was this girl, another prisoner in me and Kayla's wing. And she was there. She was not supposed to be there. She was there, older black lady. She was from maybe Trinidad, big old booty girl. And she just seemed very sweet and very on point with her court case and legal details. And she was just trying to kind of like, she actually wrote me out pros and cons of pleading guilty and pleading not guilty, because her court date was actually coming up. She had been at that prison for like 5-6 months waiting on her court date because she was pleading not guilty. Crazy story. But I say this to say that this girl that I'm talking about, she was a super nice girl. Let's just name her T real quick. So T, super nice girl, Trinidadian girl, whatever. So T had ended up having issues with one of her cellmates upstairs, and she had ended up getting moved downstairs for whatever reason. So when she got moved downstairs, she was in a shared room, but she was in there by herself. So she was in a bunk bed double room, but she was in there by herself. Now this matters for what I'm about to tell you guys. Okay. So we're all used to this arrangement. We all know whose rooms are whose. We already know that at the far end of me and Kayla's room, there's a room door that never opens that has a super dangerous prisoner in there that you see everybody's mugshots outside of their doors. So if you were just happen to walk around and you see that lady's mugshot on her door, she looks 5150. Like nobody, that door does not open, that girl's crazy, basically type thing, right? I just say that to say we all know everybody's rooms. So there was this particular day where we got a new girl to come into our wing, and this new girl was going to be sharing a room with T downstairs, right? We didn't know who the new girl was going to be. We just knew that she was about to get a roommate. So T always had work. T was always at work. I want to say T had like 2 jobs at the prison. So her new roommate was moving into her room when she wasn't there. So I just see this girl, the roommate, moving in her stuff, and then everybody's kind of having whispers about the new roommate, whispers, and I'm just like, who are they talking about, right? So me and Kayla go downstairs to see who is T's new roommate, and as you guys can probably already guess, who's T's new roommate? The roach. The roach is back in our wing, and she is T's roommate, guys. T had not left for work yet. So I'm seeing the roach emptying out all of her stuff, getting settled into this room, and then I see T is in there getting ready for work. Boom. So that's when T had came out to tell us like, oh yeah, I have a new roommate. And we were like, oh, who's your new roommate? We didn't know. So then that's when we had went down there and seen who it was. It was the roach. And we were like, oh shit, right? Whatever. So T had ended up getting ready for work, and she left for work. That was just that, right? So we all went on about our day and what have you. So that night at lockup, we go get our water. We locked up. It was just that, right? So guys, come 11 o'clock p.m., because like I said, we get locked up like around 6:45 p.m. So come 11 o'clock p.m., when we should all be asleep or going to sleep, we just start to hear arguing at the loudest pitch. And at this point, we've heard screaming from the bangers. We've heard screaming from the people that are tweaking. We've heard screaming back and forth. We've heard all this stuff. But the voice that we were hearing, we did not recognize. We just hear, you stupid ass. We just hear all types of bickering and arguing through the night. And we're just like, what's going on? So me and Kayla put our ear to the door. We're trying to hear what's going on. We can't really make out who's arguing. And we think at the time, we thought that it was, what did I name that girl that ZZ got into it with at first? Not Diddy Combs. The first person she got into it with, I said the name wasn't black enough. Diana, Nicole. I don't remember what I named her, but let's just call her Nicole. Shoot. So it sounded like Nicole, the girl that ZZ had ended up getting into it with, not the Diddy Combs girl, but the girl that ZZ had ended up fighting before I got there and ended up breaking Lala's necklace. Yeah, it sounded like that girl. It sounded like that's who was yelling. So that's who we thought was yelling. But no. So that morning, when we get unlocked from our cells, everybody's kind of trying to figure out like what was going on last night, like what was all that yelling about. And so come to find out, guys, it was T. And it's surprising because T was so quiet. She was like I said, Trinidadian girl, big booty, dark skinned girl, but she was so like on point with like just logistics with everything. She was just quiet to herself. So to find out that it was T that was yelling last night, we could not believe it. We were trying to figure out what could have caused T to be going as crazy as she was going last night, right? Huh. Y'all. T woke up that morning to her entire commissary shelf empty and gone. You guys, all of her snacks that she had just got previously a couple of days ago from commissary that was supposed to last her a week and a half were gone. And I'm not talking about they were gone like they were hidden or tucked away somewhere. The wrappers of all of her snacks were in the trash can because the roach ate them while T was sleeping. The roach managed to go through a Cadbury chocolate bar that was this size, 4 bags of chips, a whole bag of pistachios, 2 bags of noodles, some more chips, some candy, and some other things, to say the least. She managed to go through all of this girl's commissary in one night. You guys, we could not believe it. We could not believe what we heard. I couldn't believe it. And I felt so bad for the girl T because T was such a sweetheart. So it was really messed up, guys. But T, of course, when she woke up and saw that, she let her have it. She let her have it. So maybe it wasn't 11 o'clock p.m. Maybe it was like... Or actually, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm all over the place. It actually was 11 o'clock p.m. because come to find out, she wanted to sit down and watch a movie with her snacks. And that's when she realized that they were all gone. So if I'm not mistaken, either the roach ate all of her food while T was sleeping or while T was at work. And when T got back from work, she just wasn't checking for her snacks. So she ended up going to sleep without checking for her snacks. But needless to say, she discovered that they were all gone when she went to go watch a movie at 11 o'clock p.m. and none of her snacks was there. That's why she rose hell that night. And so that morning, when we're asking her about it, yeah, come to find out all of her stuff was gone. So me, Lala from Miami, and Zizi, when we heard that, we were pissed off, bro, because like we were just like, that's not cool. So me, Zizi, well, Zizi in particular, let me give you, Lala and Zizi. Lala and Zizi ended up going downstairs to the roach and kind of letting her have it. Like, oh, like you bum ass, this, that, da, 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 let her have it. And then the roach kept saying, that wasn't me, check the cameras, it wasn't me. Mind you, there are no cameras in these cells, so you wouldn't even know checking the cameras if she did it or not. So I had went down there and to talk to her. I was like, man, why you do that? Like, that's not even cool. Why you do all that? She was like, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. I was like, well, you're the only person that's in this cell, and we all share in this wing. Everybody in this wing, we help each other. If you need something that you don't have and I do, I got you. If I need something and you may have it, they always have me. So in this wing, we share. So I know it had to be you. You're the only new person in this wing that would do some shit like that. And so she just like playing the card like, no, it wasn't me. So I want to say it was so much uproar about that situation that she ended up getting moved out of our wing. So as she's packing up her stuff, moving out of her wing, she was taking this fan with her. Because if you're an enhanced prisoner, you have access, like I said, to DVD players and other things that regular prisoners don't. So me and Kayla were lucky enough to already have a fan in our room from whoever must have forgot it, who was in the room before us. But T was an enhanced prisoner, so she had a fan in her room. So T, all I see when the roach was packing up her stuff, I just see her take the fan and put all of her stuff by the exit gate. And T's so nice. She's just like, yeah, she's taking my fan. I said, she's what? No, she ain't. So I go walk over there to the roach's stuff, and I politely pick up the fan, and I go take it back to T's room. And then the roach was like, what are you doing? That's my stuff. I said, no, it's not. This is T's fan. T already said this is her fan. So then the roach goes in the room, takes the fan back out, puts it back by her stuff. I go back over there, pick the fan back up, and put it back in the room. And I'm hella ashamed, y'all, because come to find out, it actually was the Roach's fan. There were 2 fans in the room. One was T's and one was the Roach's. And so T was like, oh, I found my fan. My fan is right there. So then I was like, okay. So I just ended up letting the girl take the fan, whatever. So as she was exiting, of course, everybody's applauding. Like, get your hungry hippo ass the freak out of here. Because, like, how dare you do something like that in a place like this? Bold. So she left. So T was kind of to us, because we already called her the Roach at that point. T was like, why you guys didn't warn me? Why you guys didn't tell me? And I was like, honestly, like, I didn't know that was your roommate at first, for one. For two, I didn't want to tell you that, and nothing ended up happening. Now I look like I'm the bad person for putting something on a person and they not really like that. So I just, I didn't, my bad. So y'all, that was the Roach. Down the line, we had ended up seeing the Roach in like church and in passing, and like, she tried to say stuff to us like hi and just like little stuff, or talk to us or whatever, but it was just weird and awkward, because it's just like, girl, you are not a good person. So that was that on that, guys. So now, guys, I want to talk to you guys kind of about me and Kayla's phone schedule, because we did have phones, guys, in our room. And when I say we have phones in our room, I mean like house phones. So obviously they're not a smartphone or anything, but so me and Kayla had our house phone in our room, and we were able to call out finally to our people back home. Our phone credits were finally on our phone, and our family would send us like 100, maybe 60 to 100 a week. We were able to, on the pod, add as much of that we wanted. We were able to add to our phone credit. So like, let's say we added 10 pounds to our phone credit, that would probably get us like a 4 to 5 hour phone call. So we would stretch that out amongst all of our people. So being that we were 8 hours behind, the US is 8 hours behind the UK. The UK is 8 hours ahead of back home. So we would have to pick out and wait for specific times to call our people, so to make sure that they're up. So me and Kayla would either call our people late night, because that's when they would just be waking up, or we would have to call them kind of early on the earlier side, so then that they'd be up, whatever. So me and Kayla will wait until like, let's say, we'd wait until like 11, 12 to call our people back home, because it'd be like just the morning time over there for them. Yeah. So every time that me and Kayla would sit down at the phone, we kind of had our routine about when she was going to call her people and when I was going to call my people, because we didn't want to interrupt each other and disrupt each other. But every time that me and Kayla had a phone call, we would be like bracing ourselves, preparing ourselves to call our people. We'd call our people, talk about everything, whatever. And then when we would get off the phone, we would like kind of gossip to each other about how our phone calls went. Like, Kayla had this boo thing back home, and she'd call him and she'd talk about how the conversation went. And I'd be like, girl, he cheating on you. He said he was where? Where who? You was where? Wait, who? And then come to find out, y'all, because I'm not like that. I'm a girl's girl. I'm not just going to tell you something if I don't mean it. Come to find out, he really was, y'all. He really was cheating on her with this girl. And because he was saying the girl was just a friend, she's a stud, she's a lesbian. But I was like, I don't like how this is sounding. The way she built it up to make it sound, or the way he made it sound, it definitely sounded like he was fucking with the girl. Come to find out, he was. Sorry about that, Kayla. You deserve much better. But yeah, so that was definitely the highlight of our night, was being able to talk to our people. Yeah, like, we be kind of listening in on each other's conversations, and but it would suck so bad when we would get down to the butt end of our phone credit, and it would be like the top of the week, because we weren't allowed to add any more phone credit onto our phone until the following week. So once we ran out of phone credit, we were out of phone credit. And that was the same for this first prison I went to and the second prison. So we'd be on the phone sometimes, and then we will hear doo-doo, and that means that we only have 60 seconds left before phone cut out. So we would be trying to end the conversation, and then sometimes it would hang up in our face, and we're just like, man, and it would be like that until the next week we get more phone credit. So that's kind of how the phone situation went. We only had one phone in there. Me and Kayla were really good about our timing with, like, you know, you go ahead, take your phone calls, I'll go ahead, take mine now. Really good about that. And also, if we didn't have phone credit, you know, our families were allowed to email us and pay for replies. So if they were to email us, we would get it on the pod. We'd go downstairs in the morning, check the pod, see if our family emailed us. If they did, and if they paid for a reply, we were able to type on the pod a reply to them, and that's just how that would go. That system was a little bit different from in the second prison that we went to, but I'll explain that when we get there. So I just kind of wanted to touch on a little bit about how that phone call situation went. By the way, I do want to mention that my time in the UK was the first time that I had ever seen snow fall out the sky. I know that sounds crazy. I'm 27 years old, guys, and I've never in my life seen snow fall out the sky. I've been to like Lancaster Hills ski resort to like snowboard, but if I'm not mistaken, that was like a combination of snow and man-made snow. I've never seen actual snow falling from the sky, so it was super cold. It was super cold in the UK. The first 2 months that we were there, the first 3 months that we were there, it was freezing cold, temperatures that I'm not used to being from California. And so the clothes that I had with me weren't really that warm. So definitely had to double up when we would go outside, because it was freezing cold out there. Like probably like 5 degrees. Like but it was just so interesting and so cool to see like actual snowflakes falling out of our window, guys. It's crazy. Like the weather was too cold down there. I was not ready. All right, guys, so I want to show you guys something that is actually really crazy from my experience. I have a lot of things to show you guys throughout these story times, and this is going to be one of them. So this, guys, is, can you guys see this? This is the calendar that me and Kayla had on our wall, and that each and every day, we would check off the days that passed. I feel like personally that this did make the time go by a little bit faster. So each night that we got locked in for the night, we would cross out one of the days. So as you guys can see, I spent 117 days. Was it 117 or 170? I believe it was 117. Yeah. So I spent 117 days in prison, guys. So each and every day we cross these days out. This little heart here was the day that I projected to be out of prison. And also this little heart here was another day that I projected to be out of prison. And that was not the case, guys. When was court for us? Court was on the 23rd. Okay, so yeah, guys, this is the calendar. This was the calendar that me and Kayla would check off each and every day, kind of make the days go by faster, counting down the days until we got out. So on this calendar, I did circle January 23rd, so I guess that was our court date. So we got locked up December 21st, guys, and we finally got word for our court dates, right? So our court dates were not until January 23rd. And I want to say it was probably like week 3, like the first week that maybe the first or second week that we had ended up moving over to C Wing, and we ended up being roommates. That's when we finally heard word about when our court date was going to be. So a lot of people around us, like Lala Miami, Nisha, Sativa, Regina, they had already heard word of when their court dates were. So we finally got word that our court date, me and Kayla's court date, were around the same day, if not the same day. So my court date was January 23rd, and that was a month of being there. Finally, I got to go to court. So the thing with that, though, is it wasn't in-person court. It was virtual court. And this court date determined whether I was going to be pleading guilty or not guilty, and it was going to determine how the rest of my stay here in prison went and how long I was going to be there, guys. So Y'all already know I hate to do it, but I'm gonna leave you guys with the cliffhanger here. And in part 5, guys, I will be telling you about how my court date went, exactly how the court hearing went, and how that one court date ended up changing my whole experience, guys, and just kind of snowballed effect into how my experience went, guys. That court date I prepared for a whole month, for weeks. I prepared for this court date. I've been getting different information from everybody, trying to see the best course of action and how to do it. Everybody was saying cry, cry, cry. So trust me, I had my crocodile tears on. But like I said, this was a virtual court hearing. This whole experience that I was there, I did not see anybody, any court, any judge in person. So this was just my virtual court hearing, guys. And so I do want to leave you guys here. And in part 5, I will be telling you guys about the court experience. And then I'll be telling you guys about my transition from this first prison into the second prison, guys. I'm wrapping it up now. I'm wrapping up my experience at the first prison now. And we're about to get into more juicy stuff. Super juicy stuff coming soon, guys, in part 5. I did say that this was going to be like a 10-part series, but as I'm telling the story, I'm realizing that it's probably going to be longer than a 10-part series, guys. So if you're here with me and if you're locked in, please stay tuned, guys. I'm telling you, and I promise you that this story does get juicier as we go on, guys. Towards the end, I'm going to be telling you guys about some crazy stuff, like things that you guys wouldn't even believe. You guys, I had little girlfriends up in there. I had little privileges in there that I shouldn't have had. I got different ID cards to show y'all too down the line. It's crazy, guys. But I'm going to leave you guys right there. I don't want to make this video too long, guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to part 4 of how I went to prison for the first time ever out the country. And I really hope you guys are enjoying this Storytime series. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. So without further ado, guys, I do want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, guys. Bye.
Go trend, cut it, get it on film. 4 course meal, she ate up the drip. She wanna go through that, yeah.